So this is Asvapati. He's seeing from that world of the new creation, he's seeing our world and his own body there. And then he realizes, he understands what is this process, how the boundless oneness dwells even here. It's upholding the world's unconscious unity. And it expresses itself in these seed selves, the souls. They accept to become limited and darkened. It accepts error, sorrow, death, and pain. And through this sacrifice, it is paying the ransom of the ignorant night, redeeming by its substance nature's fall. It's helping everything to grow back up into the light. So now he sees himself as two beings. Two beings he was. One wide and free above, one struggling, bound, intense, its portion here. A tie between them still could bridge two worlds. There was a dim response, a distant breath. All had not ceased in the unbounded hush. His heart lay somewhere conscious and alone, far down below him, like a lamp in night. Abandoned it lay, alone, imperishable, immobile, with excess of passionate will. His living, sacrificed, and offered heart, absorbed in adoration mystical, turned to its far-off fount of light and love. In the luminous stillness of its mute appeal, it looked up to the heights it could not see. It yearned from the longing depths it could not leave. In the center of his vast and fateful trance, halfway between his free and fallen selves, interceding twixt God's day and the mortal's night, accepting worship as its single law, accepting bliss as the sole cause of things, refusing the austere joy which none can share, refusing the calm that lives for calm alone. To her it turned, for whom it willed to be. In the passion of its solitary dream, it lay like a closed, soundless oratory, where sleeps a consecrated argent floor, lit by a single and untrembling ray, and an invisible presence kneels in prayer. On some deep breast of liberating peace, all else was satisfied with quietude. This only knew there was a truth beyond. All other parts were dumb in centered sleep, consenting to the slow, deliberate power which tolerates the world's error and its grief, consenting to the cosmic long delay, timelessly waiting through the patient years her coming they had asked for earth and men. This was the fiery point that called her now. Extinction could not quench that lonely fire. Its seeing filled the blank of mind and will. Thought dead, its changeless force abode and grew, armed with the intuition of a bliss to which some moved tranquility was the key. It persevered through life's huge emptiness amid the blank denials of the world. It sent its voiceless prayer to the unknown. It listened for the footsteps of its hopes returning through the void immensities. It waited for the fiat of the word that comes through the still self from the Supreme. Which way are we reading, Rosa?
Two beings he was, one white and free about, one struggling, bound, intense, its portion here. A tie between them still could bridge two
Worlds.
There was a dim response, a distant breath. All had not ceased in the unbounded hush.
Thank you. So now he's experiencing himself, these two, as if he's two beings. One of them is up in the very highest level in the house of the Spirit, in the unbounded hush, that is free, that is liberated from all the littleness below. But now he's understood why his soul spark has incarnated in the earth, and he can see it there, or he experiences it there as part of himself, struggling, bound, intense. It's the the portion here of that higher being on the highest level. And he realizes that a connection between his highest being and the struggling soul here can bridge those two worlds, these two contrasting worlds that he's seeing. The new creation there in the house of the spirit, and this world that we know, which is unconscious and founded, we read last time, on two negations. So he sees that tie, that bridge that he creates with his own being, or that he represents in his own being. There's a dim response and there's a distant breath connecting the two. It means that his whole being has not been dissolved by reaching that highest level of the spirit. Not everything has ceased.
So this means that he made the link,
a connection. Well, he's doing it individually now, but he's doing it on behalf of everybody. We will see whether the mother allows him to do it for everybody or not. That will come in the next canto. Yes? I haven't done a Lakshmi.
His heart lay somewhere, conscious and alone. Far down below him like a lamp in night. Abandoned it lay, alone, imperishable, immobile with excess of passionate will. His living, sacrificed and offered heart, absorbed in adoration mystical, turned to its far-off fount of light and love.
So last week we read about him becoming aware of his body, gathered into mystic sleep here on the earth. Somewhere there's his heart, conscious. All the rest, all the other parts of the being have left it. The heart is there, far down below him, like a lamp in night, in that night of this ignorant world. It's as if it's been abandoned because he's taken all his will and the main part of his being into the higher levels. It's alone, but it's imperishable. That heart of his can't die. It embodies his aspiration, his will. It's there, it's immobile, with excess. Usually excess means too much. Great intensity of passionate will. His living, sacrificed, and offered heart. He's offered his heart as a living sacrifice for this great work of transformation that he wants to bring about. So his heart is absorbed, it's absolutely concentrated in a mystical adoration. It's adoring the Supreme Divine Mother. And it's turned upwards to her, to his far-off, distant fount, the source of light and love.
In the luminous stillness of its mute appeal, it looked up to the heights it could not see. It yearned from the longing depths it could not leave.
So this it is his heart, no? There's something still, it's full of light, and silently it is appealing, it is calling to the mother, and it's looking upwards. It can't see those heights, but it's yearning, it is longing, calling from these depths of nature that it's not able to leave. It is bound here in the earth nature. But from those depths, there's this call, this appeal, this yearning.
In the center of his vast and faithful trance, halfway between his free and fallen selves, interceding twixt God's day and the mortal's night, accepting worship as its single law, accepting bliss as the sole cause of things, refusing the austere joy which none can share, refusing the calm that lives for calm alone. To her it turned, for whom it willed to be.
Yes. So it's as if the heart is halfway between his free being and the struggling, bound portion here in the earth world, in the material world. It's as if the heart is lifted up, it's halfway between his free self and his fallen self. And what it is doing, it is interceding. And it is making a prayer on behalf of the lower part, the fallen self, to the higher self. And it hopes to bring a message back, interceding. In the Christian tradition, this is the role of the saints and the Virgin Mary, that they will intercede, that our prayers are too feeble and weak to reach the divine. We need somebody to carry them up for us. No? So his heart is doing that. It's calling. It's interceding between, twixt. It's a poetic word meaning between. That world of everlasting light, God's day, and this darkness in which human beings live. His heart is accepting that its only law is worship. It has nothing else to do except to worship. And it also accepts that the only cause of things, the only reason why this world exists at all, why anything exists, is bliss, ananda. For itself, he says, it refuses the austere joy which none can share. It's possible for the spirit to remain in that high joy, cut off from all the sufferings below. But Asvapati's heart refuses that. And it refuses the calm, the kind of calm that lives only for calm. He knows that he has to be calm, but he has to be calm in order to be able to bring down light and love, in order to do his work. He's not looking for calm just for the sake of calm, for the sake of peace. So it is turned to her, to the mother. It wills to exist only for her sake, for her work. Do you like to read, sir?
In the passion of its solitary dream, it lay like a closed, soundless oratory, where sleeps a consecrated argent floor, lit by a single and untrembling ray and an invisible presence kneels in prayer.
Thank you. So again, this is his heart. There, it's in this passion, in this intensity of its aloneness. It's alone with its dream. And Sri Aurobindo says it is like an oratory, a room of prayer, a closed, silent room of prayer. And that the floor of that room is as if sleeping, it is silver. And that room is lit by a single ray, an untrembling ray of light. And in that oratory, someone is there praying, but that person, that presence is invisible, is not seen. So whenever we read this, these lines, we think about the chamber at the Matrimandir, lit by a single ray. Of course, Sri Aurobindo wrote these words long before. We think in the late 1930s he wrote these words. But of course these words or this image represents an experience. And the directions that the mother has given for the chamber is a concrete representation of that experience, of that soundless room that's lit by a single ray, and where there is a presence, prayer is present there. An invisible presence kneels in prayer.
What is argent flow?
Argent is silver. It's the French word for silver. So it's shining white. And that floor is consecrated. The floor is a floor which has been dedicated, which has been made sacred. Joel.
On some deep rest of liberating peace, all else was satisfied with quietude. This only knew there was a truth beyond.
All the other parts of his being are satisfied with the peace that he's experiencing. No?
In the vital and the physical.
But he mentions particularly the mind and the vital. Yeah? All the other parts of his being, they feel in that they're being carried on that deep breast of liberating peace, which frees them from all care and insecurity. They are satisfied with that quietude, that state of calm. Only his heart knows that there's a truth beyond the quietude, beyond peace. Mahalingam.
All the thoughts were dumb in centered sleep, consenting to the slow, deliberate power which tolerates the earth's error and its grief, consenting to the cosmic long delay, timelessly waiting through the patient years, her coming thereof for air and men. This was the final point that called her now.
So all the other parts are dumb, they are silent, they don't say anything. They're in a kind of trance-like state of centered sleep. And they are consenting, they are agreeing, accepting this slow, deliberate power of nature or of time which is tolerating all the things that we see are wrong with the world, all the world's error, all the mistakes, all the suffering, all the grief. When you come into that high state of peace and you see that this is all in a way necessary in the process of unfolding, you say, yes, it's all right. They consent, they agree to this long delay, this cosmic delay, that it's all taking eons and eons of time, immeasurable time. So all these other parts of the being are ready to wait beyond time, through the patient years, however long it takes, for the coming of the mother, of her, this coming that he has been aspiring for. All the parts of his being were united in that aspiration. But everything now has become quiet. Only this heart is the fiery point which is still burning brightly and calling to her to come now, not to wait. Yuli?
Extinction could not quench that lonely fire. It seemed filled the blank of mind and will. Thought dead. Its changeless force abode and grew.
Yes. So he's in a kind of state of extinction, in merging with the spirit, but that merging has not been able to put out that fire which is burning in his heart. To quench, we quench a fire, or if we're very, very thirsty, and we quench our thirst by drinking. The extinction has not been able to quench, to put out that lonely fire of Asvapati's heart. And the vision, the seeing of that heart fills up the blank of mind and will. The mind has fallen silent, it's become dumb. Maybe it's even not there anymore. The will also. But now that thought is dead, the force of this fire in the heart remains and grows even more powerful. Patricia?
Armed with the intuition of a bliss to which some moved tranquility was the key. It persevered through life's huge emptiness amid the blank denials of the world.
So his heart, its strength, its power comes from this intuition which it has, that there is a bliss, there's an ananda beyond the quietude, this bliss which is the sole cause of things. And the key to that bliss, the heart has this intuition that some moved tranquility is the key to that supreme delight. So tranquility is when we are very, very, very calm and peaceful. If we can be very, very calm and peaceful and at the same time have the intensity, a feeling that we are moved, something is felt intensely in that peace. That is the key to that bliss. So his heart is persevering in its aspiration. There comes a state when all the normal things of life appear like dust, They are of no value at all. This huge emptiness of life, no? Still the heart has something that it longs for, that bliss. So it perseveres, it persists, it goes on with its prayer, its worship, its adoration, in the midst of all the world's denials. Everything in the world contradicts that aspiration, says, no, it's impossible, forget it, cannot be. No? But that heart is sure of its intuition. Prasanna?
It sent its voiceless prayer to the unknown. It listened for the footsteps of its foes, returning through the void immensities. It waited for the fear of the world that comes through the still self from the spring.
Yes. So this heart is sending its voiceless prayer. That prayer is going even though there's no words, no mouth to speak it. It's sending it up to the unknown. It can't see those heights. And it's listening, it's waiting. Will those things that I'm hoping for, will they come? No? Will they return? Will they come back to me fulfilled through those empty vastnesses? And it's waiting for the fiat, the command, the word of command, the command from that creative word, the word of creation, that comes through the still self. It will come only when everything is absolutely silent. It will come from the Supreme into the being. So I think we should read these lines together. Two beings he was, one wide and free above, one struggling, bound, intense, its portion here. A tie between them still could bridge two worlds. There was a dim response, a distant breath. All had not ceased in the unbounded hush. His heart lay somewhere, conscious and alone, far down below him, like a lamp in night. Abandoned it lay, alone, imperishable, immobile with excess of passionate will. His living, sacrificed and offered heart, absorbed in adoration mystical, turned to its far-off fount of light and love. In the luminous stillness of its mute appeal, it looked up to the heights it could not see. It yearned from the longing depths it could not leave. In the center of his vast and fateful trance, halfway between his free and fallen selves, interceding twixt God's day and the mortal's night, accepting worship as its single law, accepting bliss as the sole cause of things, refusing the austere joy which none can share, refusing the calm that lives for calm alone. To her it turned, for whom it willed to be. In the passion of its solitary dream, it lay like a closed, soundless oratory, where sleeps a consecrated argent floor, lit by a single and untrembling ray, and an invisible presence kneels in prayer. On some deep breast of liberating peace, all else was satisfied with quietude. This only knew there was a truth beyond. All other parts were dumb in centered sleep, consenting to the slow, deliberate power which tolerates the world's error and its grief, consenting to the cosmic long delay, timelessly waiting through the patient years her coming they had asked for earth and men. This was the fiery point that called her now. Extinction could not quench that lonely fire. Its seeing filled the blank of mind and will. Thought dead, its changeless force abode and grew, armed with the intuition of a bliss to which some moved tranquility was the key. It persevered through life's huge emptiness, amid the blank denials of the world. It sent its voiceless prayer to the unknown. It listened for the footsteps of its hopes returning through the void immensities. It waited for the fiat of the word that comes through the still self from the Supreme.